Hi guys, so you'd have seen in the recent video I got hold of the Barons War, and yeah, I am totally hooked already. And in that first video, I painted up some of the miniatures from this box, and that's these glorious knights. Well, obviously there's a lot more miniatures in this box, so I need to make up a whole little retinue. It's kind of like a small little army. So let's get into it. I want to start by thanking Wargames Atlantic because they actually sent me this box set for free. I do have an affiliate link with them now, guys, so give that a click down below. Won't cost you anything, but I get a few pennies back. And it's a big obviously way of thanking them for, well, sending me the box set. So in my previous video, I did go through and show everything in the box. And yeah, there's a ton of miniatures in there. There's enough to basically get two 500-point armies, which is great because then everything in the box is there to get you started with this game, so you and a friend can play. So I'm going through the basics of what I need. So let's say 500-point retinues, and I'm going through what they suggest. Obviously, you can then build bigger armies, buy more miniatures, and all the rest of it, which I'm rather excited about doing. But yeah, for initially, I'm just going through what they've sort of said. So I'm going to make up some sergeants, some archers, and some levy, which are the peasants of the retinue. So the retinue basically is like a group of people that you retain, so you pay for their services, and obviously that's why you're going to have one baron and then his merry men. And that's the other thing I'm looking forward to doing with this. Obviously, I'm going to start off by playing the game obviously with the right sort of miniatures. But as you all know, if you've followed me for a while, I do like having sort of custom miniatures figures. So yeah, I may well do a Robin Hood and his merry men. So yeah, when you cut the miniatures off, there are obviously going to be bits here and there which are going to need scraping off. Right, apologies now, guys, for the state of my hands and fingers. Obviously, say every day I am painting, making, or doing something. Or when the weather's nice, I'm actually out in the garden. So apologies if my fingers do look a bit messy, because I've just realised or noticed that most people seem to watch it on their TVs. Yeah, I always thought most people watched on like tablets and phones, but apparently, going by YouTube's analytics, most of you lovely people are watching on TV. So I can only apologise now that my fingers are huge and possibly a little bit dirty here and there. So to say, this box, it comes with a ton of miniatures, but a bit I love is the fact you can customize your army. So this really is a case of what you see is what you get. So you really want to make your miniatures up to have the right attire, the right weapons, shields, all the rest of it. But I love the fact there's so much in here. So say variety-wise, like I've just seen then, ton of heads, which is really cool. So yeah, absolutely love how these miniatures look. Really love the sort of the 13th century medieval times, because obviously I do love knights and that sort of stuff. As I say, I still can't believe I've only just come across this game. This is the Barons War 2nd edition, so this has only been out for the last sort of month or so. But the original one has been out for about 5 years, I believe. And I say, yeah, it's only just sort of fallen on my doorstep, or I saw a video a few weeks ago, saw some gameplay, absolutely loved the look of it. And yeah, so that's why I'm now building everything. So by the end of this video, I will have made up the two retinues that come in the box, so I can start playing the game. But obviously, I like to have everything made and perfect, so I am still building the terrain piece, as in the board, and all the pieces that go on it. So it's going to be about another week or two before I actually play my first game, just because I want everything to look really cool. So there's one person made up. It does come with bases, but I don't like the bases because normally I use clear bases. But for this game, I am using normal bases and doing some basing material. But because I don't want there to be much of a base, I bought these little round discs. So these are 25 millimeters, which is the right scale size for these miniatures. But these discs are, I think, about 1 millimeter thick, which is pretty cool. So they're not very thick, but there's a bit of weight behind them because obviously they are made of metal. And these will obviously be based with materials and stuff afterwards. So yes, you won't actually sort of see much of the base. Whereas the normal bases, I mean, they're all right. They're just round discs. They are a bit thicker, a bit deeper. And I say I like to, not be able to see the bases. So there we go. I am, as you can see, going to batch paint these. So I've made up the rest of the army that I need. So this does include all the sergeants, the archers, and the levy, so the good old peasant folks with their, well, pitchforks and hammers and whatever else, which is pretty cool. So basing wise, again, this is why I do like doing a nice simple base, especially when there's so many miniatures to sort of do. Keeping it simple and sweet is like the best way to go. Plus, it looks well with the rest of the board and the terrain. So simply, I'm starting off by putting on some sand here. So guys, when you do get the base in, rather than buy small packets of the stuff, which can cost, I don't know, about £5, £8 for a small little bit, if you get the stuff you use for fish tanks, you get huge big bags for the same sort of price. So I've got my painting handles and I've got double-sided sticky tape on there. And say I'm going to be painting these as one big batch. So I did have to print out a few more of these little printing handles or painting handles even. You can get hold of these on my Patreon page. Simple little handle, but very effective and obviously nice and comfortable in my my chunky fingers. So I'm putting all these miniatures on now. I think I've got about 20 odd. So this is probably one of the biggest sort of batch paintings I've done. Typically when I do batch paint, it's around about 8 to 10 miniatures is my sort of normal maximum amount. But say I wanted to do all these in one hit. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So yeah, no surprises for how I'm painting these. Good old Slapchop. Priming in black, dry brush white, and then use a combination of speed paints or dipping inks, whichever ones I sort of feel appropriate for the colours. So with the colours as well, I'm trying to keep these very, very bland, very neutral, because I'm sure people back in the 13th century didn't really have access to a lot of coloured clothes, apart from obviously the barons and some of the knights, the sort of nobility, those with money. But yes, because a lot of these people that I am painting up are, well, they're your normal folk, a bit like you and me. Don't really have a ton of money, so I'm guessing these guys probably have one outfit and that's kind of it. And color-wise, yeah, very neutral, very bland, but love how they come out. So obviously, this is my army. I have painted my son's army as well, so he's got sort of neutral colors, but his are obviously different to mine, just so it makes it easy for him and for me more than anything, just to sort of work out whose army is on whose side. So yeah, starting with silver, because obviously again batch painting is great because it really can get through them really quick. It's a case of picking the one color and then going through every miniature if they have a bit of that color. Yeah, paint some of it. But obviously they've all got kind of weapons of some description. I think there is one guy who's got like a club, so obviously he won't be painting that metal. But yeah, anything that's sort of metal related. Yeah, as you saw there, I'm using a normal metal painter here. I do have the Army Painter speed paints. The coverage with them is really, really good, but I do find they don't sort of look or feel as good as the normal speed paints. So typically, whenever I do use a silver or any of the metal sort of colours, really, I'll use the colour and then I'll probably put a wash on afterwards, just because I don't like things looking, well, I don't want them looking too neat, too shiny. I say these have been out in a field, wherever it is, real muddy. So yeah, I want them to look appropriately sort of distressed. So they do look like they've been battle worn and the rest. So yeah, it's a case of going through, say, doing all the metal bits and then moving on to the next colours. So again, I'm using a variety, say, speed paints by Army Painter. I've got Green Stuff World dipping inks. They also do a range called Intensity inks. I'm not sure what the difference is. They look and feel just like the dipping inks. So guys, I'll say this in most of my videos. Big difference between Army Painter speed paints and the Green Stuff World dipping inks is the Green Stuff stuff is, again, this is obviously a word that I was being told to kind of use, is more fluid. The word I like using is more watery. So yeah, you need to be careful when you first use dipping inks if you have come from speed paints, because they are a lot wetter. So you need to be careful not to put too much on your brush, otherwise these will run all over the place. But again, that's what I love about these. When you are used to how they work, they do pool in the recesses really well. You do seem to get a nice sort of sharp contrast between the darker areas and the lighter areas, and you kind of use a bit less as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I've got all my paints out, and it is just a case of going through, seeing which ones look the best. And the great thing about having the green stuff and the speed paints is, like, when it comes to browns, I've now got, oh, I don't know, about 18 different browns. Greens, I've probably got about 20 different greens. And as you can see here, I'm even using washes. So it's a case of using a bit of all sorts. But again, washes work really well over the miniatures when they're primed in black, dry brushed in white. So yeah, you don't have to use speed paints or dim inks. You can use washes. And this is where I really am having more fun now when it comes to painting. I'm trying a whole lot more new things that I possibly wouldn't try before. Just because, well, just because I'm having a lot more fun with painting. Yeah, guys, you want to have some fun, go and watch one of my old videos where I'm constantly moaning about the fact I hate painting miniatures. I used to paint a lot of terrain. Didn't normally paint as in little miniature figures here. His axe, yeah, I did I did snap it a little bit, which is why it's kind of like bent that way. I do fix him just in case anyone goes, well, he's got a bit of a funny axe. It's a wibbly wobbly axe. Yeah, obviously while I was painting it, I didn't notice, but then once I had finished painting, I did notice, so I put a bit of glue on the top and popped it back in its place. So yeah, batch painting, guys. If you're going to paint lots of miniatures, yeah, do them all at once. It's amazing how much time it saves. The fact that you load your brush up with one color, you go through, pick a miniature up, paint it, then you go through, pick up another miniature, paint that, and then by the time you've got through all of them, especially in this case, say normally I would typically do 8 to 10 miniatures is my sort of max, but I wanted to get all of these done in one go. So yeah, by the time you finish one or finish all of them in one color, the first one's dried, and then you can just go through and start painting, well, whatever the next color is. I say keeping the colors very sort of, well, browns, sort of greens, dark sort of whites. Yeah, nothing too fancy apart from on some of the sergeants, and I say definitely the knights. They had a lot more color going on. Because I'm guessing they could afford finer sort of wares. But and again, the poses of all these miniatures. That's something I love about these. The fact that you do sort of pose them in how you want them to look. So there's a whole variety of different arms, hands, and different sort of bends and whatever. So you can make these look kind of like more aggressive, less aggressive. But yeah, just love it. So miniatures, fantastic miniatures from the Baron's War box set. No doubt I will be doing some more sort of 3D printing of miniatures as well, because these are 500 point armies. Yeah, once I got used to the game, know how it works, I would like to go for some larger armies, just so I can do some sort of storming the castle kind of things. So yeah, shields. I did have a go at painting the shields previously on my knights. It wasn't too bad a job, but obviously nowhere near as good as these transfers. Again, these are from Wargames Atlantic. Guys, go check them out. Obviously, they do the Baron's War, but they do a whole variety of other board games, bits and pieces as well. So definitely worth checking out, even if you're not into the Baron's War. Yeah, go and see what else they do. So transfers, yeah, really easy. You just put them in the water, leave them in there, literally 15, 20 seconds, and then the things start to sort of slide off. And then it is a case of just sliding it off, getting it on the shield, and then once it dries, yeah, it's not coming off. And as I say, I painted the knight shields, didn't do too bad a job, but these ones are really good because obviously you get some of the shield decals here. They have battle damage on them, which is pretty cool because it does then make them look like they've they've been in the battle, which is again why I like to have my miniatures to look a little bit more distressed and all the rest. Doing the transfers is a lot easier than what I'm showing you. Again, I've obviously got a camera in front of my face. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, no, it's easier just to drag the transfers off. So you've got a few seconds to be able to move them around, but then once the water does evaporate, yeah, they are there. So say they come out really, really well. And say when I did them, it was like, yeah, I need to change the shields on my knights just because, well, they then look pants. So I've gone with a variety. So my colours for my sort of retinue is more the orange and the reddish colour. So I've got sort of shields that, I've got orange and red in, surprisingly. And my son, yeah, he's gone for more green. So his is more green and white. So after I painted all of these ones, I then painted the other retinue, which was, I say, around about 25, 26 miniatures. and I painted all of them in one big hit as well. So basing, last thing to do, again, keep it nice and simple, but effective. I've got my little green flocking in here. This is made up of about 4 different sort of colours of green grass. There's also some fine cork in there, as well as a few big stones. And then it is just a case of a bit of PVA glue here and there. Again, I want to be able to see some of the mud coming through because I kind of want them to be, well, in a muddy, grassy sort of field. And then, yeah, just dip them in. It really is as simple as that. Again, when you're doing lots of miniatures and a big army, you kind of want to do something that is quick and simple, unless you're in no rush. I like to get things painted reasonably quick because, well, I want to be able to play with the things. And so, especially as I do have a mind to make a sort of like 1,000-point army or even bigger. Obviously, this game is played with 2 people, but you can play with 4. So I am going to be printing out some castle bits soon as well, because I like the idea of doing some sort of castle or storm the castle. One person defends the castle, and then say 2 or 3 other people with their retinues, they storm it. So here we go. So here's the sort of the first retinue done. A nice 500 points army. And yeah, love it. So it didn't take too long at all to get these all done. Absolutely love how they look. The board they're on, I've still got some work to do to that. There's going to be 4 of these. They've got magnets in them, so they attach to each other. I'm doing relatively flat wargaming table, as you can see, but I'm going to be adding terrain pieces. Just again, the 2 reasons for this. 1, I like the idea of being able to make things exactly how I want them, and 2, storage. So I'm going to have 4 of these boards. You just put on top of each other, and they don't take up much room at all, but they'll make up a 4x3 foot board. And the good thing is, obviously, because they are magnetized, I can make the board even bigger. So this is my son's army. To say he liked the idea of going with green, so he's got some green in his army. And again, these were all painted in one hit. It just made things so much simpler, so much quicker. And I say now, I've now got 2 500-point armies ready to play a game with, which I am super excited. So guys, don't forget to check out the links down below to the paints I use, to the brushes I use, and to where you can get hold of the Baron's War from Wargames Atlantic. So there's quite a few of the links are affiliate links. It never costs you anything, but I just get a few pennies back here and there. So there's more videos coming showing more of the scenery pieces, so keep an eye out for that. There's another video on the screen, guys. Give that a click, see more of what I do. And share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You guys take care. See you in the next one. Bye for now.